YouTube, we're here today with a special unboxing. We've got a very small package that came from China, and we're going to see what's in it. And it better be awesome. I know it's going to be awesome. It's covered in a black bag, so that way the kids don't see the packages. Actually, it's really well packed this time, too. Oh my goodness gracious. Look at that. It's an EC145 K124, of course. And this is by FTR. It actually has a Futaba radio in it, which is pretty cool. This is an ready to fly, and I didn't realize it came in a little carrying case, but that's pretty awesome, because anybody who has little helicopters realize that they're almost as bad as little airplanes, in that they take up a lot of room. Like even this little $40 plane, which is fun too. It's just a space hog, but it's so fun, it's worth it. Let's look inside here. Wow, this is super well packed. The remote control instructions. It almost looks like it might be in English. I mean, it is in English. Wow, look at that. Throttle, rudder, aileron. Okay, so far so good. This looks like English instructions. That is so cool. Oh, look at this. They even have Expo on this thing. I'm excited to look through this. They have an instruction manual. And I don't know. We'll just have to see. But look at this, guys. I think one of these is the helicopter and then one's the radio. That is super neat. There's some squishing on the boxes, but it's like this really plasticky cardboard. Look at that. They got a reinforcement inside there. It's taped inside. So far so good. Whoa, whoa, careful. They've got foam protecting the delicate areas. Just a little awkward looking, but also really nice. Yeah, those are going to be wheels someday.
Of course they are.
The radio feels super cheap, but I mean, I'm used to a DX18, so this, by comparison to the Fly Zone radio that comes with that little in-em plane, just to give you an idea, I mean, there's quite a bit of difference in quality. I mean, these are still plastic and everything, but you can actually take off the controls, and they have these sharp points really help for control authority. Just to give you an idea, I mean, comparison. Usually the cheap controller that comes with these things is just total junk, but this actually looks like it's nice. It's got a lanyard adapter, which is super nice for people that are used to having a lanyard. Doesn't have a lot of weight to it. Size comparison, DX4E, similar size. Except it's got a screen on it, of course, the DX4E. And then size comparison on the DX18, significantly smaller. And one thing about it, fixed antenna. I like that a lot. So far so good. I'm impressed with that little bit. Whoa, it's got a headphone jack on there. I wonder if I can charge the batteries, if I had rechargeable batteries. And let's pop up in the back. Looks like it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 AA's. I think it actually comes with those batteries, but I guess we'll have to wait and see on that here in a minute. Okay, so this must be the parts kit. So far okay, so it looks like it comes with, wow. Oh my goodness, look how many blades it came with.
What? Oh.
Jeez. Came with a main gear, an Allen wrench, a tail rotor, We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blades, screws, and a screwdriver. In case you didn't have a screwdriver, guys. It's a super small one, so. And it looks like, wow, cool, a dual charger. Looks like this is actually going to be able to, it receives the plug right here, and then you plug into your USB charge port on your laptop or whatever. I mean, we'll see if there's something in the manual about that, but the cable looks like it's not super long, but I do like that it's nice and small. These little things, it looks like a low-C connector. I think low-C is the right word. So we'll see that here in a minute. And it does, ooh, comes with another fin set. Now I don't know if it comes with another fin set, but it comes with a fin set for the rear of the aircraft. So we'll just hang on to all this stuff for now. And then that's the empty box. Now we got the helicopter, of course. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to keep it in that, but it's really cool that you could if you wanted to. And super nice packaging. I'm really impressed with the way this thing. It's got powerful brushless motors. It says 6-channel brushless 3D 6G system, which is, from what I'm reading and understanding, it's like safe, and it will auto level the aircraft, but you can shut it off and do the full 3D maneuvers. This is a collective pitch helicopter. That is really cool looking. Mm-hmm. It looks like a plastic bottle, doesn't it? That is so cool. I'm going to obviously take this stuff off here. It seems to have protected it just fine from halfway across the planet. That is super detailed. I really like it. Oh, that's super cool. Of course, there's one LED up here, and look at even the windshield wiper blades, guys. Dual windshield wiper blades. We've got the antenna up and down for UHF, VHF. Yeah, this is your low-C connector. I think it's low-C. But you can see the little collective pitch mechanism. That is so cool. Look, we've even got some handles here on the side of the boom. And now the bummer is you may have a brushless motor right there, but you do not have a brushless motor back here. From what I can see, it looks like just a regular DC brushed motor. Now there's one fixture going down there. Here, I'm going to grab a screwdriver. I'm not going to use a provided screwdriver for this step, just because I want to have a little bit better reach. It's just a flat screwdriver. You see this, guys? My antenna is going right by that servo, so I'm just going to actually push that down and out of the way. I think that's the antenna. Might be an LED, one of the wires. It looks like these linkages are very small. But I mean, I don't know how else you would do it. These have got to be like 1 or 2 gram servos in there. That's very cool. Are you able to get this thing to focus at all? Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at the battery while we're inside of here. Yeah, I don't think that's actually an antenna wire that I saw. That's an LED wire, I believe. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind, guys, is if your country doesn't allow the shipment of LiPos, there's a good chance you either won't get the LiPo or you'll get a different style of kit. This is a 1S 700 milliamp hour LiPo, so that's pretty big LiPo actually. I'm curious if I'll be able to use my other LiPos that I have, maybe do them in parallel so I can do 2 of them, because I got a lot of 180 milliamp hour packs. Usually helicopters chew through power pretty quick, and I'm surprised it's running a brushless with a 1S configuration. That's uncommon. So we'll see how this goes real quick. It looks like we are going to have to do some really light assembly here. So why don't we just get into it right now. As you can see, we got these fins. It's not a spare set of fins, and you only get 1 spare set of rotor blades, main rotor blades. And that's because it came with 8, and you of course need 4. Now there's a flag on the top, and then these bars on the bottom. And you can tell because there's actually a picture of the helicopter here, and you can see the flag is up in the picture. So that's going to tell us which one goes where. And so it looks like it's just a snap it in sort of thing. Oh yeah, see the tail boom is flimsy to a certain extent, but that's kind of what you need on a helicopter like this. If you have a heavy tail boom, it's going to fly bad. that looks really cool. Look at that. And the painted tips just really, that is neat. I bet this is the same pitch as a lot of the quads out there, and I bet I have some of them downstairs in my spare parts. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take just a second and clean up all this packaging, and then we'll get the instructions ready to go so we can start the assembly. All right, guys, so I kind of felt bad like I was cheating here, but we're gonna stick these batteries in. I know you guys love it when I take at least 5 minutes to open a box. So I don't wanna leave anybody out. I don't wanna upset anybody, because when I open something and it takes 20 minutes, people are even more happy. So anyway, so we're gonna put these AA's in here. You can tell which way they go because the negative, of course, is the flat portion, and then the positive has the little dimple. And the dimple goes away from the spring. The flat side goes toward the spring, in case you guys don't know that. If you don't know that, my guess is you're probably not flying this, but you know, maybe you're giving it to your kids or something like that, or whatever. Okay, so we got 6 in there. Always important, very important rule of thumb. And I'm not reading this from the instructions. We have found them to be Chinglish, which is very unfortunate, because if you speak English, you don't quite understand. If you speak Chinese, you don't understand at all. So, but the Chinese speakers usually speak English. So anyway, okay, we're gonna turn it on. Wow, that is a super nice display. So the stick goes up and down, and you can see on the side here, there's an indication of where that position is.
Wait, hold on, I can't. Okay, do that again.
See how it moves up and down, guys? And then you see this nice bright blue light. Trim. It indicates the central position. And then of course you can push this and things happen. And then there's also different flight modes, which is pretty cool. Mode 2. Okay, cool. So it shows the absolute position here. And then this is, okay, so this is the throttle hold that they're concerned about when you first turn this on. And it's true for any aircraft. You always want to have a throttle cut or a throttle hold. It's important for your safety so that the prop doesn't take off. If you would, for instance, if you had that on a lanyard and you bumped into your belly or to your arm or something when you're swinging, that's what you got to watch out for. So let's show them the adapter real quick. We actually plugged in, we pulled the battery out, and we use this Asus 1.35 amps AC adapter here. So the way you can tell how much current, you see it's working here, guys? Okay, you always want to keep these, you know, this is where people burn their houses down, is they don't watch a battery charge. I'm not saying you sit here and you like, here, give them a shot of what it looks like looking. So this is, you don't have to do this the entire time, but don't like go to bed and like smoke 4 or 5 cigarettes in bed before you fall asleep. To you know, you're gonna miss the burning battery. So what you want to do is instead check, make sure you have an appropriate adapter. This is how you check, guys. Look at the back here.
Wait, hold on. Okay.
You guys see on there where it says input and output? Input is 100 through 240 volts at approximately 50 to 60 hertz. Okay, that's your input. So like here we're in North America, in the United States, so we have 120 volts AC. The output is 5.2 volts at 1.35 amps. Can you guys see that on that screen? I hope so.
Yep,
so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you, to juxtapose that, I want to show you the difference. This is an old adapter from a Kodak camera, okay? So you can see the input is, I can't read those letters, they must be in Chinese. 100 through 240 volts, same thing. Output is 1.5 volts at 1 amp. Excuse me, 5 volts at 1 amp. So which one of these guys puts out more power? Okay, per Ohm's law, this one puts out a little bit less power. It's putting out 5 volts at 1 amp, and this is putting out 5.2 volts at 1.35 amps, okay? So this one puts out a little bit more power. I tend to go a little bit higher power if I want to run a charger. Now, hypothetically, this little box should take, now what it looks like when it's not charging, okay? Watch this. When it first gets plugged in, it'll flash. that tells you it's alive. Okay, then you can put this low seat connector in there, and then it just goes. And I'm really sorry if I'm saying that wrong, guys. But anyway, I wanted to show you that. That's important for those of you that don't already understand that. This helicopter comes with everything except for the AA. We didn't get the AA, so you'll have to go buy those at your local, whatever, retail store. So for now, what we need to do is we need to go ahead and get these blades on while that battery charges. The red light goes out when it's done, right?
Yeah, that's what it said. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to read you. I can't stress this enough. Where's the warning?
It was like page 2.
Page 2. Okay, so on page 2, there's something very critically important for you to know. Read the entire instruction manual to become familiar with the features of this product before operating. That's pretty English.
Yeah.
Where's the part that says... That's not page 2.
Well, what are you looking for?
The part, it's not a toy.
It's not a toy? Oh, I thought that was on page 2.
This is a super classic helicopter with excellent flight performance. It is fly barless, and it looks sweet, guys.
It does.
So, I mean, I gotta admit, for the price point, it's really nice. And guess what? This is not out of stock. Check the description below. You can buy your very own today and have it shipped from China much faster than your Hobby King order that will take a month. And I'm not exaggerating. It took almost a month to get my order from Arkansas. So, and I live in Iowa. That's like a 5-hour drive. So, anyway, this came from the other side of the planet. It took about half as long. DHL does a good job. I haven't had one thing damaged from DHL yet, which is really cool. Okay, now I want to point something out to you. See how these say A?
No.
Like A and A? Warning, do not fly with broken or damaged rotor. May cause damage or lead to injury. Okay, that is also a good point, guys. Now I want to show you these little screws. There's only 4 of them. Don't lose them. It does look like there's either a thread locker on it or they've been tested. Okay, these all say A. Okay, so A. They all say A. Evidently, there's no B's. Now, if you would be dealing with a B, you'd probably have, like a reverse direction. So we're going to go ahead and just assume that this is what we need. So while we get this open, we're going to go ahead and show you putting one on, and then we'll pause it for the rest. But the rule is, always have your radio on first. Now, you can shut this off until you're ready to plug your battery in, but I wanted to show you. That's the biggest rule, and I'm not just blowing smoke here. Always have the throttle stick down. Now, where's the throttle? The throttle is here on an airplane, helicopter, multi-rotor, drone, quad, whatever you want to call them. This is throttle on a mode 2. Mode 2 is very popular. Some people use mode 1 and then it would be different. I'm just going to talk about mode 2. This is the roll. This is your pitch for an elevator in an airplane. In a helicopter, it's still pitch. It just tips the helicopter. And then this is going to yaw the airplane or helicopter, which is going to move it like this, okay? I fly airplanes predominantly. Collective pitch helicopters are a new thing for me, but this thing has so many aids that I should be able to fly it in the living room, which we're going to do. But I got to build it first. So what type of screwdriver do we need? Oh, it looks like a hex drive. Yeah, that's... Here, let's see if this hex-shaped handle will fit. Nope. Oh, there we go, guys. It did come with an Allen wrench. I was getting all excited about having to get tools out, and then I realized I don't need tools out. When you put these blades on, one thing I know, the limited things that I do know about helicopters, and I don't want you guys to think I know nothing about helicopters. I had a helicopter before I had an airplane when I was a kid. Of course, it never flew because it had one rotor, and it was very weird, and it had this big, like, plasticky thing on the end that stopped it from rotating. You see how tight that is? Okay? You don't want that tight. You want it to be almost loose, and I'll show you what loose means. Okay, so loose means it moves free, but it doesn't come out of the screw hole. Okay, so that's good enough. I know this part from experience, and it's not because you're worried about like hitting something and having it move out of the way. There's a certain amount of protection on this whole assembly here that you're gonna get, but also the centripetal force is gonna pull them out. So you wanna keep them, if they're too tight, it won't pull out at first, and this thing will whoo, 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 and it'll shift the weight, and you can bend your prop shaft. I don't know if that's called a prop shaft, hon. What is that thing called?
Oh, yes, I know.
Okay, she doesn't know. But it was a good one. So here we go. I don't know. Maybe it's in the manual. Could we consult the Chinglish manual?
Do you want to pause that while you put the other 3 on?
That's correct. We're going to pause it, guys. We're going to spare you. We could spend 5 minutes doing it. All right, guys. We've been doing some good quality reading in this Chinglish manual here. And evidently the Google translator was broken. This is very important. Serious camera person.
Sorry.
Serious. Note, novice flight. That's for people that are new. Step 1. Please first contact the model helicopter under the guidance of an experienced flight. 2. Novice flight should also understand the function of remote control on the ground and shake the joystick response after the aircraft appeared to fly after fully understood. 3. Not capitalized, of course. Cannot be anxious, and 3D action flight should be gradual and is now under the 6G mode, is flying the plane surrounded by hovering practice to master and then perform 3D is flying for hover after both modes skilled hands of people under the guidance of experienced in inverted exercises. So if somebody wants to explain this to me, okay, camera woman, please. Inverted still be surrounded by hovering excess. You do not even more beautiful action after laying the foundation. 5.6. This is 5.6, guys. 5.6. Hold on. Let's show them the 5.6. It's right here. 5.6. All right, 5.6. All right. Now I'm going to read it because I don't want you guys to have to read it. Through model aircraft is not a toy. To reduce unnecessary damage, when you enter the 3D exercises, you can first enter in the computer simulator line accesses proficiency before actual flight. And it continues on, but I'm not going to waste some more time. Okay, guys, this thing is still charging, and it's not hot. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. I'm excited to fly this thing, guys. I need to get my 3D flight experience mode, whatever the heck was just happening. So I've got this little voltage alarm, okay? Now, if you have one of these, don't be compelled to just ram it in there because you just never want to just ram it straight in. You want to kind of warm up to it a little bit. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to just touch those 2 pins there. And you notice it's not going to necessarily come on right away. 4.1. Cell number 1 is 4.1. All is also 4.1. Now, you can't hear it in the video because it's very quiet on a 1S pack. Now, you get up to 8S pack and it's really loud. But the idea is this will tell you the voltage of a 1S. I actually have small adapters for the really small Horizon connectors. But anyway, we're going to plug that back in now. A fully charged LiPo. Uh-oh. 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 See how the light didn't turn on, guys? That's devastating. Watch this. I unplugged it from the power source, plugged it back in, watched for the flash, and then look at this. What the heck is going on here? My guess is this thing will not charge over a certain level. And to hold down costs on a charger that should be otherwise, you know, pretty inexpensive, I'm guessing that they won't let you charge anything over that level. That's kind of weird. Normally, you would charge a battery that's a LiPo to about 4.2 volts, okay? So if you go to 4.2 volts, see, there you go. So I was able to get this restored, but I had to disconnect my power up here. I wanted to demonstrate that because you'll get some weird behavior from these chargers, which is also one of the reasons why you don't want to go to bed and smoke like 6 or 7 cigarettes before falling asleep and letting this burn your kitchen down. So of course we put it on a stone surface so the fires can happen. We're about ready to fire this thing up, speaking of fire, and it's going to be awesome. We're supposed to let this charge full, but I'm not sure I'm going to obey that rule. Mostly because I didn't understand the 14 different sentences that were trying to articulate that. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through the binding process We found the binding process. There's 2 manuals that come with this. Now, I was reading a little bit about this rather sophisticated ready-to-fly radio, and the gist of it is this, right? You press this button, you scroll, it goes to a particular parameter, and then you can change the parameter. You have to reference the manual for like everything. For this price point, that's totally fine. You can change Expo, you can change between mode 1 and mode 2. So if you don't fly with mode 2, like I'm gonna use, that's fine. You can do your mode 1 setup. But you gotta read this manual and get used to it. Something I'm not real fond of doing, but it is what it is, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the binding procedure. Can you remind me?
There's a blue star.
Okay, so binding, TX, and RX. It's on page 6, all right? So the first thing you wanna do is get yourself some safety gear. Jeez, those are dirty. Who got these things for me?
Not me.
Safety gear is important when you're dealing with a high quality piece of electronics, okay? Second thing you want to do is go ahead and, wowzers. I'm just going to warn you guys, don't stick it in too far. It could cause problems for you, like I'm having now. The first times I plugged it in, I didn't have this problem. But what you got to do is, I think I'm going to probably have to go ahead and grab this with pliers. I've been burned one time, and you guys know how much I fly. I fly all the time, constantly. Like, I might go through 20 packs, 30 packs in a weekend. I've been burned on a 1S pack, 300 milliamps because the tip ripped off. It was not on this helicopter at all. It was on a totally different application. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab something that will protect my fingers, and it's dug in there pretty good. So what I did that you guys can avoid doing is, you see how that connector was allowed to go all the way down into that area there? That's what I'm fighting right now, trying to get it out. So you'll want to avoid making such good purchase that you have to rock it out of there. That will wear out your connectors here, so don't do that. Little words of wisdom from your wonderful teacher here. All right, so we're going to bind this thing. The instructions are as such. To buy the original model, the factory... What are they talking about? You buy the original model, the factory has been completed on the code. If you need to recode, press 1 steps. So I think what they're trying to say is that this thing should already be bound to the radio that it was provided with, okay? So if you would damage this and replace it, or damage this and replace it, then you would need to go through the binding procedure. So I'm going to turn this on, lowest position, hold is back, dual rates is forward, I guess. Or, no, this is hold, and then this is dual rates, okay? So you see how it's got that little triangle? That triangle indicates full or half, or something like that. I don't know. We're going to find out in a few seconds. Because I'm an experienced fly, so when I 3D experience practice.
So do you have to shake it around first, or no?
I have to shake the sticks. So, all right, so one thing you'll notice I'm doing is I'm going to try to keep my fingers from getting chopped off here. The throttle sticks down, and the hold is hypothetically in the on position. You'll want to pay attention to your colors. It will only go in one direction, but it does help. It'll be easier to plug it in if you try to line it up right the first time, especially when you're not used to it. And you see the way that goes? Okay, so I hear the chatter of the electronics in there. It sounds like digital servos. Awesome. You can tell what a digital servo sounds like after you spent lots of time, like, you know, at least 3 or 4 times as long as you should have. Okay, so getting this cover back on is pretty easy. It's just a little tricky for me because I am not sure I have the wires in the exact correct spot. So I'm just, oh, it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. That was actually, it seemed dramatic, but it really wasn't that bad compared to my Apache. So what we're going to do is we're just going to move all this crap. Remember, when you fly, don't fly inside because you're probably going to crash into yourself, and you may not have safety glasses on. Okay? So we're just gonna go through the paces and see if this thing works. Oh yeah, I can see the swash plate moving. Okay, now this is a test I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna Enrique Iglesias this. Okay, so first I'm gonna give it a little bit of throttle. Oh, that's so cool. Gyro, 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 gyro. See, I've got the stick barely up. Okay, the main rotor hasn't started to turn because I have hold on. You'll notice the back one doesn't have a hold. Watch, the hold's off now. Okay? See how it's moving, but it hasn't started spinning? That's kind of cool. Okay, we'll find out why that's happening here pretty soon. Probably because it hasn't initiated. Wow, that is awesome. Oh my goodness, look at the lights. This is really nice looking, actually. It's totally a collective pitch helicopter. Okay, now I'm gonna turn the cut on and I'm gonna test that again. See, it's doing nothing. So what we've learned by that experiment, because we can't understand the Chinglish, is that this is safe, which is opposite the way that I do it on my other radio system, so it's a little bit disheartening, but not a big deal. Okay, so now I'm just checking to see if it's going to go the direction I expect it to, which so far, the yaw is correct from what I'm used to. I'm on a smooth surface. You don't want to do this on carpet. You'll tip over and break it immediately. Okay, now when I push this forward, interestingly enough, it doesn't seem to be changing the axis that I expect. Okay, I'm going to put the hold back on. When I tip this stick forward, it should actually move that rotor forward so that it pulls the helicopter this way. And when I move it back, it should pull it this way. When I move it this way, it should rotate this way. When I move it this way, it should tip that way. When I yaw it, it's going to move the helicopter whatever direction I point it, just like it would if it was an airplane. The throttle simply controls the pitch of the blade and the speed of the motor in the beginner mode, which I'm in, okay? Maybe that's the other thing we need to check. So I'm going to turn off the cut. Actually, I'm going to turn it back on. I just want to make sure that we're still free here. Okay, here we go. Woo! I must be in the wrong mode there. Okay, so there's F mode and then flap. So I'm going to try F mode. I'm going to turn on the cut. F mode. Okay, so now the cut's on. See how that moves up and down? That must be our 3D mode. Okay? Then I have the GS/gear. Okay, so we'll try that too. I'm going to put it on the ground. We'll try it from down here. Okay. The yaw axis is super easy to control. Man, that thing has got some power. For being a 1S, it's amazing. Man, that thing is rock solid. Holy crappers. I'm not a helicopter pilot, guys. Okay, so I've got the hold on right now. And what I learned from that little tiny flight is that there's some trimming, because you may have noticed it was a little bit at an angle. Okay? And I'm telling you now, I'm not a collective pitch helicopter pilot, so this is pretty good. I would never have been able to do that with my Apache, because that's like, whoa, I want to show you what just happened. My canopy popped free, so if that happens to you, you'll know what you're running into. You're running into the actual canopy itself. I'm going to snap that back on. The canopy has a clip here and then a magnet on the top. So we're just going to slide this back in. And for those of you guys who know a lot about helicopters, I apologize. This is not my everyday thing, but I still think they're really cool. And this thing is really pretty. Okay, we're going in the air.
Okay.
Are you
I'm ready.
Safe with your wonderful protection?
Yeah, the camera will protect me.
Okay, all right. Okay, cuts off. That thing is really solid. You see how it's tipped?
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing is, once you get to the middle position on the stick, woo, buddy. I'm going to Enrique Inglese that. Because when you're in the middle position, I want to show you what happens, guys. Okay, so the stick is halfway. It's neutral. It doesn't move up or down. When you move it up, then it goes up. When you move it down, it forces it down. Okay? Because it changes the pitch to neutral. Instead of being like neutral so that it just hovers down, it's actually powering it down. Now, I had very little authority to pull it forward or backward. So that's a little strange to me, and I'll see if I can figure that out right now. Maybe it's a setting. Well, that was awesome. Okay, did you see it tip there finally? I finally got it to start moving that direction. So we're going to try this on the ground again to save my face. Yeah, I'm giving it full, and it just doesn't do much of anything. Man, that gyro is like crazy. All right, time to figure out what's going wrong. Let's figure it out, and we'll come right back.
Okay.
You going?
Yep.
All right, guys, so I changed my gyro setting from 75 down to 60, and look how much better it is. It's like night and day difference. And like I've mentioned a time or two, I'm not really a helicopter pilot in terms of a collective pitch style. And so with the gyro setting at 75, it almost didn't let me want to tip the helicopter at all. So if you can't tip the helicopter, if you reduce the throttle slowly, it doesn't spin like that. Okay, let's show them how we did that. So this is what my screen looks like right now, guys. Okay, my throttle cuts on right now. So if I hit mode and I press and hold it for a second, okay, so it says reverse, then DR, that's dual rates, then Expo, then throttle curve, then power curve, and then gyro, and I push to go into it, and it's at 60. So now if I wanted to kick it up just a little bit more, I could say 65, let's say, and then you push it to accept your change. Now, we've accepted the change, so you just hit back, okay? Whoops. See how it says 65, you hit back. And then the power curve, throttle curve, I think, what is pitch curve maybe, I don't know. Expo, so let's look at what these are. So right now, the first axis is, I don't know which one that is. Okay, careful in case it starts. Okay, so we're good. So I'm just trying to figure out which one is which, but it says 1 now, so if I were to push, this number would allow me to change it. Okay, so 2, oh, maybe negative 20 is default. So I'm going to click into it. Okay, so it says negative 20. Okay, so channel 4 is going to be set to 0 by default. So this is where you would change your Expo setting. I kind of would like to increase the Expo on all of it. So I'm going to click on here and go up to like 10, okay? And then I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to change it from minus 20 to like minus 10. Now, if you say minus 20 on Expo, that means that it's actually more sensitive than neutral, okay? So now I'm going to go into this, and I'm going to change this to like minus 10 as well. Okay, this is Expo, right? I know what Expo is. I just don't know which axis these are. But by default, okay, now you just hit back until you're to where you remember it being. Okay, now throttle cuts off. Okay, so the gyro I turned up 5%. I had it at 75, brought it to 60. Now it's back at 65. And I changed all my Expos by 10% up, which means it's going to resist that middle of the stick is going to be less touchy. Okay, here we go. Bring the stick to about halfway. Get out of the ground effect. It's... Woo! Okay, so that was bad again. It didn't want to give me any pitch control. So I want to go back in here. So let's do this again. So we'll press and hold mode. And then we're at reverse, dual rates, Expo. So we'll just change those back. Channel 1, we'll go to -20. Let's go to let's go to -20. Channel 2, we'll go to you have to highlight it, and then you have to change it to -20. Then channel 4, we're gonna click, and we're gonna go back to, was that 20? No, it was 0.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll set that back to 0. Now, let's go back, and then let's go down to gyro, and let's click into that. It says 65, let's put it to 55. That should give us a lot more control authority. Okay, back out to flight mode. Throttle cuts on. You notice the way the blades look. See how it's all like, that's the way it is when you come to a kind of an aggressive stop. But if you slowly increase your speed, it'll center those out good. Okay? And if it walks like that, where it's kind of starting to wander over like that, you can actually try to do some minor trimming, but I wouldn't recommend doing most of your trimming on the ground. You want to get up out of the ground effect. The ground effect is probably something like this with this helicopter. Okay, that's where all the turbulent air is. Okay. Okay, we have good pitch authority now, again. It's so snappy coming back. That's the only thing that makes me nervous. And one thing I've noticed is there must be a heck of a lot of Expo on that particular channel, because once I give the stick all the way out, it's just like you're done. There's no more control authority. But the roll authority is very responsive. The yaw authority is extremely responsive. So what I'd like to do is I would like to get the pitch authority a little bit better. It might just be between 3D mode and 6G mode is what we want to shut off. Okay, so we're going to try this again. Actually, let's change one more setting, because I think we're getting closer, guys. Okay, so I'm going in, and remember, a lot of this stuff is subjective, so we're going to hit mode, press and hold it for a second, brings it up, reverse, dual rates. Oh, and this is where you would change your channel direction if you wanted to reverse them, and it'll show up right on the screen there all the time. Dual rates. Okay, see how it says 80? See how it says 100? See how it says 80? Channel 1 is at 80% now, okay? Channel 2 is at 80, channel 3 is at, or channel 4 is at 80, okay? So it'd be at 100. So maybe we should just switch it to high rates. Okay, so now let's go back. Now we're in dual rates. Now we're going to go back into Expo. Now I just need to figure out which channel's which. Maybe we can refer to the manual to tell us this. And guys, I don't know if I just haven't been into this enough, but you guys know, if you know anything about my channel, I get dug into these things, and I just don't know exactly what channel's what. Some people know, so what we're going to do is we're going to take just a quick second, and we're going to figure out which channel's which, so that we can tell you with some authority. So, if you want to pause it for a second, we'll look for it real quick. All right, guys, so rather than reading the Chinglish manuals, which is going to be really frustrating for you if you get this, if you know helicopters, you probably don't need to read them as much. If you know Futaba, again, same thing. Let's look at what we're going to do. I figured out a way with just regular troubleshooting diagnostic method. Okay, we're going to come out of Expo. We're going to go back to, we'll go to dual rates. Dual rates, DR. Okay, see how it says 80? Watch this. See the helicopter? What you want to look for on a collective pitch helicopter is when you pull the stick back, these are going to pitch, the whole swash plate is going to move back. This is called a swash plate, okay? So when you pull that back, it's going to move back. When you push it forward, it's going to go forward. So watch what happens. See how it changes a little bit, but you can't quite tell? What I'm going to do is I'm going to change my low rate from 80 on each channel. I'm going to change it from 80 to like almost nothing, okay? Then I'm going to change it to another channel, and then I'm going to change it down, or I'll leave it at 80 for now. So now we can differentiate between the channels. Unless we're dealing with the yaw axis, we should be able to tell. So when I flip from high rate to low rate, okay, or from low rate to high rate rather, then I'll be able to see the difference. So as I pitch, I change, no change. Oh, there's a pretty big change there. See that?
Oh, yeah.
So okay. I think on channel 1 might be the pitch axis. Now the roll axis, that's not a big change. Okay, now the yaw axis, we're not going to be able to test without actually throttling it up. So I'm going to go ahead and only use the yaw axis, make sure we're safe. Now watch this. Okay. So on channel 1, which one did I lower down? I thought I lowered down this one. We're going to lower it way down, okay? And then we're going to leave that. And then we're going to walk back over. Okay. So now we'll hit back to make sure it takes the changes. And then we're going to come out of the throttle cut and give it just a little bit of throttle so it starts running. See? So that's on high rate, or that's low rate. Then that's high rate. So we haven't modified that axis. Okay? Do you understand my test? Am I making any sense here?
Sure.
I hope so. Okay, I'm going back into dual rates. We don't want to change that dual rate. So we're going to go back to 80, okay? And then on that second channel, we're going to take and lower that way down. And now we're going to test that one. Actually, we'll lower it to like almost nothing, okay? See? Now 2 is set to 2 on the low rate, and on the high rates, it's 100. So you'll be able to see a distinct change. See that? Hard to tell, isn't it? Unless we're on the yaw axis. So, we're going to set that one back up to 80, and then we'll do the same exact test. Okay, so now we're at 80. So we're going to go up and down. See the change? Very small change now. So channel 2 is our pitch axis, and then channel 4 must be our roll axis, and then our yaw axis must be the first one, I guess, which doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. Okay, so that means that we want to basically, I wonder if I can go above 100 on high rate. Okay, so I'm on that axis now. Yes, you can go over 100%. But I don't know if that necessarily will compromise the digital servos. Sometimes digital servos don't like being overdriven, increasing the travel beyond 100. So let's just try flying in high rates now. I'm going to walk back out of the menu. And throttle cuts off. Definitely more sensitive. Still kind of wants to favor over to this side, so we're going to give it a couple of trims on that, on this axis. So we'll try it again. Still not quite enough. Okay. Okay guys, so we just kind of thought to ourselves, maybe we should check the battery. And sure enough, the battery's at about 3.79 volts. And that's, you could go down to as low as like 3.4, 3.5, but I don't want to destroy the battery. So we're going to actually charge this thing real quick, and then I'll fiddle with the menu structure, and we'll come right back and show you guys a little bit more. When this video is over, this thing's going to be flying decent, and then you guys can copy what the changes I made were. And if you're reading English, you're going to have a hard time reading the manual, because anything that's critical is Chinglish. Sure, you could get out of the box and get it in the air. I did, and I'm not an expert, but the thing is, if you want it to fly good, you're probably going to have to fiddle with settings. So just so you know, that's the one thing to keep in mind. It is sweet looking though. It really is super pretty. So we'll give you a little bit more action here after we have a chance to charge this battery up. So guys, I figured out why I'm having so much trouble with this thing. It's not me. I thought it was me, and it's not me. there's actually a legitimate problem with my transmitter. Not with the helicopter, it's working. I want to show you. You're gonna have to tell me if it's seeing it.
Yeah,
okay, now I want you guys to watch what's happening. You see, as I move this, there's a very distinct output. It's very linear, it's very easy to see, okay? Then this is throttle, okay? You can hear the output. See how it works really linearly, okay? See this, how linear it is? See that? Now watch this. See that? It's not even responding. Now watch this. See what's going on? It's like freaking out. Okay, there it's working.
And it wasn't doing anything.
And you can hear the servo responding. So what I have to do is I have to open this up and figure out what's wrong with this. See, when I was flying it, it was a little scary because I would be getting out and it would pitch left and right, but I couldn't get it to stop coming toward me, and I had to Enrique Inglese it. And so it's just, what do you do? So option one is to see if they'll replace it. Option two is, okay, I'm gonna put this throttle cut on and test it real quick. Okay, throttle hold. So it's on. By the way, I also built a small adapter while we were off camera. I want you to notice something interesting about this adapter. Where this power wire comes out, this is just a regular nanotech battery. I've got a bunch of these 1S packs. I built an adapter. Look at the polarity. I had to reverse the polarity. Pay special attention when you're making these, if you make them, because my color code did not agree, just so you know. So now you can also switch the pins on the low C connectors. And I'll show you how to do that real quick. Once you've unplugged your battery and your power source is detached, okay, so this is just like the normal like E-flight style. And then this is the E-flat style. It's really crappy because, well, anyway, long and short of it is, you see these little pins here, these little tabs? Watch this. Take yourself an X-Acto knife, okay? An X-Acto knife like this, okay? And what you're gonna do is you're gonna push this tab down, okay? And then you're just gonna yank that cable right out of there, okay? And that way you can make the polarity the same. I cut these off of nanotech lipos. Okay, see how that works? And of course this is super screwed up, but the idea is you can switch the polarity back to the way you want it to be. And you see that there's your connector itself. So when I undo this one, then this red one is going to go over to the other side. And the reason I bring that to your attention is because if you plug this in backward, you might damage your helicopter. And I'm lucky I noticed it, because honestly, why would the polarity be different from manufacturer to manufacturer, right? Well, evidently it is. I don't know if it's a nuance on this particular helicopter or if it's just kind of normal on these style of connectors. Now you just slip it into the other side. And once you get it in there, it should key. If it doesn't, then sometimes you have to take your blade and come in here and just twist it, just to walk that thing up at a steeper angle, the keeper tab or whatever you want to call that thing. And then sometimes you have to take the backside of your blade and kind of help these in until they seat, and you can hear it got good purchase there. So now we're going to do the exact same thing on the black lead, which of course would be our negative. Our child is trying to be on this video. That's our youngest. We actually did an unboxing on him, didn't we?
We did.
We did an unboxing on Caleb. He is talking all like tons. Okay, so that takes care of that. And then on your standard 1S style connector, I've got a little hot glue on here. So you'll just make sure that those blades get slid back in here. It's all very small, you know, so.
Super easy to see.
Super easy to see. It's not distracting with Caleb talking at all. Did Caleb have a name in our unboxing? I don't know if he did.
I don't know.
I'm guessing we probably didn't mention it. Okay, so when I go back downstairs, I'll use a lighter to heat that up. In fact, we'll just do it real quick. I've got a lighter right here. Lighter. Remember, we're not trying to melt the whole connector. Just trying to heat up the hot glue. Okay? Once it's hot, then you should be able to get these connectors slid all the way in. Yeah, it's a little toasty now. And just let the hot glue cool down for a second. And then you'll notice that these two pins are a little bit misaligned. So long as they aren't so bad that they won't allow you to plug your battery in, you're usually okay. So let's just double check our work. So now the polarity should be correct on the output side, but it won't necessarily be correct on the input side. You see what I'm talking about? See how the colors change? Oops. See, now it should be right, actually. That's correct. Okay. So now that's plugged in. Now we're looking at the leads from our battery. Red is going to line up with red. We have our radio on, our transmitter. The red is on my right. And there we go. So as you can see, it works like a charm now. All right, so basically you get the gist of it. The whole idea here is that I need to now establish why okay, the battery's unplugged. I need to establish why all of these work and this one doesn't, okay? Oops, excuse me, this one doesn't. And it's almost like if I gave it more pressure, it would work. See? See how it kind of works sometimes? So what I'll have to do is I'll power this off, and I can either take this assembly out, or I can try to go behind here and open it up. I think we're gonna open it up because I don't wanna send this back to Hong Kong. So we're gonna pause it and do that next. All right, guys, so I broke out the tools that came with it just to double check, but it doesn't fit this. This is 2mm. So I just went and got the nearest toolkit because I'm too lazy to go all the way down to the basement. That's a long ways. So I had a 2mm wrench here, and we're gonna try to take off this top first because obviously there's something not quite right in this gimbal, I think is what we call this. Okay, so you can see that gives us access to the mount, but I don't know if that's gonna give us access to get anything done. That was what I was afraid of. So it looks like this is probably gonna need to come from the other side. Okay, so we know that's not it. Now there's this adjustment here, which is actually, it's almost like a mechanical trim. And it's possible that, I think it's also kind of like tightens up the amount of resistance to moving. So it looks like we need a Phillips number 2. I think this will do. Except that it's too big a head, so you'll have to go to a smaller Phillips, which we did get a Phillips provided with this tool, so we'll go ahead and see if that, yeah, it works, but that's going to be a pretty horrible experience to use that. So I'm just going to get this Craftsman one that's designed for human hands to hold. Except then it's too small, so this is the sort of problems that you do run into periodically when you get these little electronics. It's a little bit annoying, but if I can fix it easy, then you guys can fix it easy too, because you'll just do the exact same thing I do. It's okay because number 27 did pass it.
Well, number 27.
Number 27, you were in big trouble. Yeah, usually when you do unboxings where you're trying to encourage the sale of a product, you don't show things like this, but you know, I don't really care because this is a good quality product and there's just one little problem with it. And to be honest with you, once this is fixed, I think it should fly really good. It's just also probably not a real good problem to have. I would think that this probably could have led to demise of, you know, small birds, dogs or cats, depending on how small they are.
It's a good thing you weren't flying near a pond.
Oh, thank goodness. Yeah, because the instructions clearly state
no ponds.
No ponds. Is there any way you could tell me the exact way it said that? Because it might be kind of encouraging to me as I'm struggling with this. Okay, so the camera woman is going to look up the hilarious way that they instructed us not to fly near ponds.
Okay, 5, space, period. No space. Keep away from crowds, cars, high tension towers, and pond. And then you can start your flying.
Well,
after you shake the thing to make sure you understand how it works. Well, you have
to shake the sticks to find out what's going to happen. And experience fly. I think they meant flyer.
Yes, I think so.
Maybe they meant pilot. I'm not sure. Well,
can we show them what happens when your helicopter explodes?
Yes. Show them the exploding view.
This is the exploding view. Just in case your helicopter bursts into a million pieces, you can
well, that's the way it would look if, say, your pitch axis was not responding properly.
Yep.
So, but you guys know me. I'm going to show you the way I got it. And the way I got it was just like this.
Don't hurry. You skipped number 3.
Dang it,
you're hurrying.
I hurried again.
You screwed it up.
Screwed it up. It was all the hurrying I was doing.
Yeah.
Is that why it was 45 minutes?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, so it's, yeah, usually. Maybe I just unboxed it too quick. Maybe I should have taken over 5 minutes to unbox. That seems to be the popular thing to complain about this week. Okay, now you'll notice there's no screws under here. So the reason I wanted to show you guys this part is to show you just how easy it is to disassemble it for number 27's sake. So number 27, if you're watching, I'm sorry that I pointed out number 27 because I'm sure they're probably going to be like, which one of you 400 people on line 27 checked off on the quality assurance? All right, guys, so I wanted to show you inside of here so that we could establish, you know, some quality, you know, whether this thing is worth buying. And I'm running into one problem, and that is, as I go about doing this, I'm having a hard time separating the two halves. And I know that there's going to be, of course, a couple of wires that go to the power source, and I think where my problem is on this switch. And yep, there we go. Okay, so you can see, guys, right away, here's our problem. I believe we've already found it. Okay, so we've got redundant power here. It looks like we have power that's going to this bus connector with really high quality soldering. Not so much. This here is going over here, and it's going in as an input here. Now there's 3 wires. Why are there 3 wires? Because it's a potentiometer. Potentiometers have 3 leads. That potentiometer is what we're concerning ourselves with is the pitch axis. Okay? Okay, so that's the axis that we're concerned with. So now that we have that detached, you might have an easier time from the other side there, hon.
Okay.
Oh, we can also give them an idea of what it looks like to adjust the tension screw. This is the screw that you would be able to tighten, which would hypothetically slow down the stick movement on the vertical axis. You see that, how it presses into it? Okay. And then it looks like this might be the end of travel adjustment. Just real quick, I'm going to go ahead and unplug this one wire because it's driving me crazy. And that's our pulse width modulation. Okay, it says battery on here, so I'm going to go ahead and unplug the battery. Okay, now we can safely remove this from our hair. Now let's look inside here. Ooh, some really high quality soldering here. So obviously what's going on, there's your radio system. And this is coming into 2 inputs here. And so, do you see this here? Here's your actual potentiometer. It's a 5K pot. And this is a 5K pot, it looks like, as well. Okay, so, and if this is damaged, then you're probably screwed, and then the only option would be to replace the unit. I'm just going to unplug it and make sure I have the right axis, which this would be the pitch axis. Now, if you really wanted to get into it, you could sit here and actually look. You could hook this up to a multimeter and see the change in resistive value as you move the slider up and down. Okay, so these little connectors, this would be, is that like a micro GST? I don't remember what kind that is. But either way, I'm just basically looking for maybe something that is out of place, missing, partially disconnected, pinched wires. And so far I'm not seeing anything that's super obvious. Except for right here, there's a bit of a pinch in this wire. I'm just gonna pull. Sometimes when you have a broken wire, if you pull and the copper is broken inside, it will rip in half because all you have is the actual sheath on the outside. It did seem a little bit weak, but it didn't break. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and reattach that. Now, the funny part is, I believe on a pot like this, you could hypothetically plug it in either direction, but you might change the output. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it back in. Sometimes you just get a dirty connector and, you know, it's like I always say, wipe your tip off. It's important to start fresh every time. So I'm going to just slip this back in there. And we're going to go ahead and temp in the power again. Now I have the batteries out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 1.5 would be what? It would not be equal to... I'm just trying to think if I have a LiPo that would be that same size. I do not. Because I want to power this up, but I don't want to have to take it apart twice, you know. And for those of you manufacturers watching this, I'm sure there's probably all one of you. And number 27, of course. When you build these stinking things, would you please spend the extra 1/2 of 1/10 of 1 cent or whatever it costs to get an extra 2 inches of red and black wire going to your battery? Because then I would be able to fix your crap a lot easier. Thank you. Okay, so we got power in there. We got the power in there. So now the pulse width modulation's unplugged, and that's probably why it's freaking out. So we're gonna go ahead and plug that back in real quick. That one I just forgot to plug back in because I'm not using it. I didn't figure it'd be an issue. But it evidently is very important to this radio system. I'm sorry I'm kind of blocking the view a little, folks. That's just the nature of the beast here. Okay, so that's plugged back in. You know, there's nobody saying that there's not something wrong with like the microprocessor. I kind of doubt it though. I'm guessing what we did has already fixed it. Well, look at that. See that? Mm-hmm. It seems to still be having some personal issues. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to shut this off. We're going to flip this thing around. I'm caught on something now. Well, that's really unfortunate, folks. If we're still having problems and the only recourse I've got would be to have them send a replacement, I really hoped it'd be something super minor. Oh, you know what? Unless that just completely opened up, which might explain why it was freaking out. No, it didn't open up because we were able to move it and see it change. How else would this little son of a gun know that we have it opened? Is there a switch somewhere that I'm missing? A switch that says made or not, you know, like the back cover is off, sometimes you'll have a switch or a component that says cabinets opened, sort of thing. Not seeing anything like that. So we'll go ahead and stick this back in the hole, I guess. And the only other thing I can think to do would be to actually take apart the pot. And that would be a possibility as well. Maybe one of these lines is very weakly attached. I don't think it's probably super hard to detach the pot. It's only held in there by 2 screws. I'm going to get a flat bladed, oh, I've got one here, this might be okay. We're just going to pop this trim pot out. We're going to have to get both sides at once. I think the only way to do that will be to have 2 small screwdrivers. That's what we'll do next. So we need 2 flat screwdrivers for this step. And for whatever reason, when you need a flat screwdriver, then it's sometimes they hide from you.
Is it in the prop bag? Oh, yeah.
You can pause it.
Okay.
Alright guys, so we're going to just try this one more time here. So we'll be able to get in here, see how that's being lifted to the side. You have to be able to do both sides at once. It's quite tricky. But once you get both sides loose, then I believe you can just pull that right out. I'm going to try undoing these 2 Phillips screws first though. Because if the pot's bad, you know, there's not a whole lot I can do about that. Unless I can find one that's the same size, and I kind of doubt that. Okay, so 2 screws. Magnetic screwdriver helps a lot with this. Okay, so you see how that's allowed to move now? Alright, now it's out of there. There's a ball bearing on here. That's kind of cool. See that ball bearing, guys? That's neat. Okay, those 2 screws are controlled now. Okay, so that's the actual output. Okay, so now my next step will be to pop this thing out. Okay, so I'm trying to get both sides at the same time. And I'm having a real heck of a time doing that. There we go. I got it. Almost. And what I'm doing, the reason I'm taking this all apart, guys, is just if it's something simple, I want to fix it. Something simple like this.
I think you're past the point of
something simple. Dang it. Okay, so now we can see that the trim pot has actually got a plastic assembly mounted as part of it here. Okay. And I don't see anywhere on there where we would be able to get in and out to actually see the wires going in and out of it. So the only option for us is to probably, very reluctantly, we would be able to possibly cut these wires and try to resolder them when we're done playing with it. But it might just not work out very well. Hey, look at that, guys. You see that? Look what just happened. Do you see that? What do we have there?
Be a wire.
That's a wire.
Not attached to anything.
That's not attached to anything. So it was held in there by the glue, but not held in there by the solder. So that would explain why we have an intermittent connection problem. Yep. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all these little small screws together into one spot on this super easy to find small things on. Desk, bench, workspace. And then we're going to go down to the workbench and fix this one wire that broke free. And then this thing is going to fly gloriously. So you just wait and see. Alright guys, so I went downstairs and fixed this really quick. You want to get a close-up. You see how I've got hot glue so you can see the 3 solder points? I just took an X-Acto knife and I grabbed the X-Acto knife and just scraped that little rubbery kind of silicone material off until I could see all 3 heat sinks, and then I slid it back through and just resoldered it. It was super easy. This is about 3 times as robust as what it was. So now obviously in this case, what I'd like to do is I'd like to plug it in first and see if that obnoxious beeping goes away. It does look like these have one direction they fit, so I'm going to do that. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and fire it on. Okay, power's on. And it's not obnoxiously beeping. No. And if you'll look at that little bar, can you see it? I can't.
Wait, hold on.
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Look at that. Fancy dance. Guys, we fixed her. So now all I gotta do is put this all back together. And then we're gonna fly it inside the house. Cause why would you not fly it inside your living room after you found a systemic issue with it? So we're gonna go ahead and do that in like 5 minutes, but we'll pause it because you already saw it come apart. It's not really that hard to put back together. So I'm just gonna let my wife do it. Okay, so the battery charged and the light did go out as it had described in the manual. And when I test this, 4.19. Okay, 4.19. And we took off the front half so that we could get all this stuff down. One thing I noticed when I was working is that there was a couple wires that came really close to that gear down there, that main gear. And those 2 wires happen to be the brushed motor for the tail. So you'll want to watch for those things when you get yours because it's super high quality. And I want to show you how nice this works now. Look. Trying to wake it up. Okay, there we go. See, there's your left and right. There's your down. See how specific it is now? See that? Just as I move it, I'm barely moving it. Now I tightened up the actual bolts. It feels super nice now. And then over here feels super sloppy like the Village wishing well. It's like our $5 footlong session the other day. Okay, so everything's working now again, which is really good. I mean, honestly, that was a really easy fix that shouldn't have had to been made. I used an ice pack on this to keep it cool as it was charging, and it took several hours to charge. So if you want to fly this much, you might want to charge it on a better charger. This is just my take on it. You could use a regular balance charger. You just have to have the right end. And I don't happen to have any of these female ends. I just have the male ends from batteries that I've purchased and then cut the ends off of, which is how I made my adapter. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and plug this in. Throttle cuts on, or the throttle hold. And we'll go ahead and get this plugged in. Let the gyro initiate. You can see the light conditions change, which tells you that you're ready to rock and roll. Okay, now I'm going to just take and tuck this down. And it's going to fly better now. I know, because it was a little bit scary doing those Enrique moves. But you know what? You guys already knew this, but I put it all on the line for you. I really do. And to be perfectly honest, I'm torn because this is actually a really nice product. It's just, I don't know. I must have got a bad one. I would be remiss to say that I doubt this could ever happen again. But you know what? How often do you have one wire on a trim pot not work? I mean, that's just really an uncommon problem. So, and the thing is, since it was intermittent, I could see how that might slip by quality, number 27. So, guys, let them have another chance. So, what we're going to do, oh, one other thing I noticed too that I didn't show in the video is that my windshields were popping out because the inside there was a tab and I pushed them back in. So now we're good. Getting the canopy on, I'm learning, depending on which direction you put the battery in, can be challenging. Just like with the Apache is horrible to get the battery in. This is actually mildly uncomfortable to do. Just knowing how many wires are in there and stuff. But this thing might even look, I don't know, the Apache's pretty sweet looking.
It's very different.
Yeah, they're different. They're different, okay? They're not the same. It does look really awesome, though. And by the way, I don't know if you guys noticed yet, but the light on the nose gets brighter with throttle. I'm gonna go ahead and just show you. Okay, so I'm in high rates. I'll go to low rates, which I did set back to, I think, 85. Okay, throttle holds off. Okay, so now, see how much better it is? I'm like about 100% more confident in it. I don't have to Enrique it. It's quite rock solid. But that doesn't mean that I'm a great helicopter pilot. And, you know, when you fly one of these little helicopters inside your house, there's like lots of little currents and stuff you don't think about. And so like flying off of that counter where we're working or around that light can be quite difficult because the air pressure will change so much. Okay, my throttle cut's on. I wouldn't recommend flying off the carpet because you'll catch these things in the carpet and that can be somewhat devastating. Now that we actually have the thing working, I'm sort of tempted to just spend a second and try to get my trims and stuff adjusted because I could not figure out what the heck was going on because we had that radio issue. Okay, so the other thing is I'm going to show you the other mode is called idle up. And okay, so this is normal mode where as you increase the throttle, it changes both the pitch and the speed. So it changes the pitch of the main rotor and it changes the speed by which it's rotating. Now in idle up, the center of the stick would be neutral, okay? So this is idle up. You can go down or you can go up, okay? And you could do idle up in the 6-axis locked mode, the heading lock mode, like what I'm flying in now, or you can do it in the regular mode. So just to show you the regular mode here, I'm not gonna fly like this, I don't think, right now. That sounded bad. Oh, there we go. Okay, so basically, you have full access to do everything, and in idle up mode, you can give full backward pressure or upward pressure. Okay, so out of idle up and then back to the 6. I think we're just going slow, so you can just hear the gearbox working at a slow speed. Okay, so now that we have those things established, let's try to fly a little bit more. Trying to get some of these trim issues worked out. It looks cool, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. I know it'll fly upside down and everything, but I wouldn't necessarily be willing to try it on this thing yet. Just because it kind of freaks me out a little bit. I want to turn up my gyro setting a little bit. Okay, so let's look at where I've got my settings quick. And we're about done for tonight, guys. Okay, so I'm gonna go mode, press and hold it for a second. Then I'm gonna go dual rates. Okay, so see how it says 85 on all three? You see the one that's flashing, so I'm gonna click. I'm gonna make my low rate 70. And 70. Now that I have all three axes working, okay, we're gonna hit back, then we're gonna go down to Expo, -20, -20, and 0. So I'm gonna kick them both up like we did before. Quite a bit more. I'm gonna make this -5. This one is gonna be -5. Okay, so then we'll go back. We're gonna test our output. Now, we just have more, we have reduced our control authority maximum output on the low rate. The high rate's still 100, okay? So now throttle cuts off. We also changed the Expo. So we'll see how this works. Now that we have all three control axes working, for me it feels better. I'm sure some of you probably wouldn't like it this way, but I like it this way. It feels more controllable. Okay, so we'll bring it down. Okay, throttle cuts back on. All right, let's look at this again. So the Expo is way better in that setting. So press and hold mode. We're gonna go down to differential and Expo. All three of these I'm gonna bring down even lower. I'll go like 50, 50, dang it, and then 50. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my high rate, and I'm gonna actually change my high rate on this to less as well, like 80. And this is just something you would want to do when you're just learning the aircraft, because then you go to do flips and stuff, you're going to want them to be at 100, if not higher than 100. Okay, so now we've set that, so we'll hit back. Now we're going to move down to Expo, and I'm going to actually set this to even more. I'm going to go up to 30. I'm going to change this one to +5, and I'm going to change this one to +5 as well. Okay, so that's going to give us a lot more Expo. And then I'm going to change my gyro setting from 66 to, I think we'll go from 66 to 60. Okay, so that's going to reduce our overall gyro setting, but it's going to give me a little bit less control authority, more dampening. And I'm going to put it back to my low rate. Okay, here we go. Ooh, I like it. Feels better. Feels a lot better. It definitely flies a little bit more like a collective pitch helicopter. But it's snappy. It seems to kind of go back to where you expect it to. But it feels more responsive, which is weird. It should feel less responsive with the Expo change that we made. So I'm going to go back in here. We'll go back into mode one more time. Okay, let's go to gyro. And let's actually just go up. Let's go up a lot. Let's make it 80 and see how big of a difference that makes. Okay? So throttle cuts back off. We're in our low rate mode. And that thing is just solid. It just really wants to snap back to the home position. But I want to make the home position level. I know you were thinking that's an Enrique moment coming. Now having a fly bar makes kind of a big difference. It looks so much more real. Back in the day, you couldn't have a fly barless little helicopter like this and be a, you know, a novice like me. And yes, I'm a novice, guys. Make no mistake about it, I may fly the airplanes, but I don't fly the helicopters hardly ever. If I were outside, I could be a little bit more aggressive, but I don't want to get kicked out of my own kitchen. I wish you guys could see how windy it makes it in here. Should we fly over by the plant so they can see? I want to change the gyro setting a little bit more. One more setting change, guys, and then I think we'll probably be done for tonight. Isn't that what I said like 4 ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll only take 15 minutes.
Only 15 minutes, guys. Okay, so we're going to go to 90 on that. Okay, so that's I changed mine to be low rate down here. I believe that to be low rate, even though it's technically high rate. And then this would be the high rate, because up is up and down is down. I could have flipped the switch around, by the way, so then it would look the same on the display is what I think it should. All right, so this is the P curve, which is the pitch curve. You see this number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. That's the curve on the output of this stick, okay? So I'm not really sure why they have the pitch curve like that, but this is the T curve, so we'll click into that. And you can kind of see that's the throttle curve. Okay, and so what that does is that changes the pitch of the, that changes the throttle, the motor speed, compared to the actual pitch of the prop through the sweep of this stick. Okay? All right, so this should be even more stable. Oh, that's so cool over there. Is this plant sacrificially okay to hit?
Yeah.
I'm not going to hit it, but I just want to fly next to it. As soon as you let go of that thing, it just snaps right back, guys. I mean, it's kind of almost weird because as soon as you let go, it just goes straight back to level. But level does not necessarily mean stop. See? Okay, throttle cuts on. So one thing I want to see if I can change real quick. Just one more setting change. I'm going to hit this. I'm going to go into the throttle curve, 0, 45, 70, 85, 100, 85, 100. Okay, so 2, I want to change, well, I want to change 3 to less. Okay, so we'll change that to 60, 85, 60, 45. I'm going to change to like 30. Okay, so now what's going to happen is watch what happens. Okay. I got to move the stick up higher to get it to actually give me output. And it's being kind of weird. I wonder if that's a symptom of being dead. We've been flying for a little bit. I'm going to try again. Okay.
Or change your curve back and see if
we'll change the
was
curve
just too
back.
much.
Maybe I changed it too much. Okay, so we'll go back to T curve. 30 was 45, and then this, well, this one was 75, right? Okay, throttle 6 down. Well, we could also just go into the idle up too. Okay, we'll try idle up. It's probably gonna be weird. Yeah, I think the battery's done.
You want to check the voltage?
Let's check the voltage.
Why not?
Okay, so we're just gonna detach the battery here. It's hot, but not like catching on fire hot. And then we'll go ahead and plug it into our meter.
Upside down.
3.78.
Yep.
3.78 is probably a good spot to not charge it, not discharge anymore. But 3.78 should at least start the motor. So anyway, guys, you get the idea. This thing is a beauty. Let's give one more look at this thing because it is really beautiful. I mean, if you're going for a scale helicopter, if you're a helicopter pilot, this thing would be easy for you to fly. If you're not a technical person and you're looking for a helicopter, this probably would not be the best first helicopter, because how would you feel crashing this beauty? I mean, how would you feel? Look how awesome it looks. And there it clicks shut, by the way. Look at the antennas. Look at the windshield wipers. There's 2 of them, guys. It's really cool. And I'm not a really great pilot when it comes to these helicopters. But I really do. I like it. I think it's cool. And I had to fix the freaking thing. So, honestly, I don't think you're probably going to have to fix yours. But, you know, if you did, now you know how to. So, check the link in the description below. I'm going to give this, if you know what you're doing, get it. It's pretty cool for the money. And look how small it is, though. That's the other thing. This thing is dinky. If you were a good pilot, like, I mean, I feel like I'm a decent pilot with the airplanes. I feel like I'm just kind of, you know, getting my feet wet on the collective pitch helicopters. You could fly this thing in here without a problem. You could be flying it upside down, do all that stuff, you know. I'm just not that guy. That thing looks so sweet. It almost looks as good as the Apache. I don't know. What do you think?
It's cool. It's just totally different, but it looks cool.
And it's like a commercial helicopter instead of being a, you know, an Army helicopter. And they have another model that's similar to this, and it looks pretty cool too. So, but for now, just check the link in the descriptions. Get yourself one. There's some other stuff at the bottom if you want to help support the channel. I know this was like a really, really long, tedious, painfully tedious, boring, not exciting. But at the end of the day, the thing flies and it's pretty cool. So I'm going to give it the thumbs up. The thumbs up. Just up. Get one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys.